session we covered that how there were many little battles before even the Battle of Badr. And so that's where we were talking about the lessons, and we see that approaching the Battle of Badr, the strategy that was first applied within the jihad or the battles of the Prophet ﷺ was now changing. And so the target of the expeditions would not only be to achieve one simple or single target, but it will, as the historians and the writers of Seerah note, it will change from one mission to the other, and based on the circumstances, the Prophet ﷺ will adopt that. So, as we saw that before the Battle of Badr, when Sahaba and the Prophet ﷺ moved to Medina Munawwara, they attacked the caravans of the Quraysh, and that was, of course, also to weaken their economic situation, and also to deter and repel other people, so that they would not attack the newly found state of Medina that was very fragile, and of course that was one of the main targets as well. But we see in Badr, approaching to the Badr, that the Prophet ﷺ also adopted this strategy. And after winning the battle in Badr, we will see that the expeditions have gone more, stronger, in the sense that they went out on various missions to kill some of the people who were the enemies of Islam. So Ka'b ibn Ashraf was one person, a lady called Asma. So these are the people who claimed prophethood and who would pose a threat to the Medina and Islam and Muslims. And so we see that the strategy of course is changing. And so that's how one thing emerges from the Seerah. From the other side, we also see that the training of the Sahaba continues. So the Prophet ﷺ, he trains them, and the Quran is being revealed. So the verses that are revealed in Medina, in the beginning of Medina or Madani life, are more towards the ahkam, and also some of the rulings that the Muslims need to adopt in their social life in Medina Munawwara. So we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is training. And then the Prophet ﷺ is also, he, as a best teacher, as he himself says, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ مُعَلِّمًا, I've been sent as a teacher, as a mu'allim. He adopts various tactics, and it's amazing to see that how the modern tactics that we see in teaching today, the Prophet ﷺ would adopt all of them more than 1400 years ago. And so the Prophet ﷺ would use visual aid. He would have them, for example, he would draw lines on the ground and say, well, this is the Mustaqeem, and these are different lines that are on both sides of the straight line, and they are the other lines. So then he would recite an ayah from the Quran, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that this is وَأَنَّ هَذَا صِرَاطِي مُسْتَقِيمًا فَاتَّبِعُوهُ and وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا السُّبُلَ فَتَفَرَّقَ بِكُمْ. Don't follow these other paths, but follow the one in the middle. So you just draw. On the other side, we see that on another occasion he drew a square where the Prophet ﷺ said, look, this is Ibn Adam. And so the line would come to a place where there is another line horizontally within that square. And he says, this is the ajal of Ibn Adam, this is the maut, this is death. He's going to die here, but the line goes beyond the death. And he says, Hadihi amalu, this is his hopes and desires. He has so many desires to fulfill, but does not know that he's going to die on this stage. So this is like visual aids. On another occasion, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam, held a branch of a tree and he shook it and he says, look what happens, and all the leaves fall from the tree. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says to them that look, when a believing person, when a mu'min, he does his wudu perfectly nice, and from home he comes to the masjid only for salah, nothing else brings him out, his sins are forgiven like this. He then sees a little animal, a little sheep, which was, defective, which was kind of faulty, didn't have the horn, or one ear was cut, and it was dead, a dead animal. And so he passes upon them, and he says to the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, who is going to buy this for 1 dirham? مَنْ يَشْتَرِي هَذَا بِدِرْهَمٍ. And so the Sahaba says, Ya Rasulullah, nobody would buy this for 1 dirham if it was alive, and now it's dead. Look, it's half ear. And so the Prophet said, well, this is dunya. This is like dunya. This is this world that is so disgusting and is so cheap. So these are many others. The Prophet would also use his body language. He would use his finger when he would say, things to them in khutbah. And especially when he would talk about serious topics, his voice Mubarak would arouse. He would speak louder, and in the khutbah, and then his eyes would go sometimes red, his veins would show up as if he's warning people from an army that is going to attack. So you can see that his face Mubarak, and his features, and his style and tone, and intonation and usage of words, it changes, subhanallah, from time to time to time. That is a good teacher. He would build a rapport, as we today in modern language we say, well, when a teacher comes to the class, he tries to build a rapport with the students. He says, oh, how are you? What about you? And personalizing it. How the Prophet would do the same. He was asking the names, even with the children. So we see on one occasion, he says to this child, he says, Ya Aba Umayr, ma fa'ala al-Mughayr. A little child who had a bird, a pet bird, and the Prophet ﷺ is asking the child, what happened to your child? The pet bird died. And so he has the time to, subhanAllah, speak to him on that level. Just as the Prophet ﷺ would do with Hassan and Hussein, coming down, on another occasion to meet them halfway and take them to the minbar. If today the Imam Sahib, he, is in the masjid, and mashallah, the children, they speak a little louder, he doesn't like it. He says, quiet, and he shouts, and the Imam Sahib is a bit harsh. Generally speaking, not every Imam. Well, that's not based on Sunnah. Sunnah is to welcome the children, the youngsters into the masjid. But the Imam Sahib doesn't speak language of the youth. And that's even worse. That's why we're losing many youth to something other than Islam, because the Imam Sahib doesn't relate. The Imam Sahib cannot relate to them. He can't speak the language. He's unaware of the culture. While the Prophet ﷺ spoke beautiful language, Arabic. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِنْ رَسُولٍ إِلَّا بِلِسَانِ قَوْمِهِ. Whenever we send a prophet, it's to spoke the language. He knew the culture. When the Prophet ﷺ, we saw, when he used to go to the tribes before the migration, and he then ended up meeting in Bayt al-Aqaba al-Ula and Thaniya, and then things started changing in Medina Munawwara. he met them, Abu Bakr was with him. And so he would ask, which tribe is this? How many people are there? What is your strength? How powerful are you? Are you going to shelter me? I'm coming, but not on your condition, my condition. So they would ask everything, and they would know which tribe are they from, and so on and so forth. And so this is the Prophet ﷺ who continues to train the Sahaba, to show them that look, the actual life is akhirah, and Sahaba migrated from Makkah Mukarramah and everything back to Medina Munawwara. Up until the conquest of Makkah, this continued, and they used to attack different caravans and terrorize them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, تُرْهِبُونَ بِهِ عَدُوَّ اللَّهِ وَعَدُوَّكُمْ. The problem is, there's no rahab in the hearts of the non-Muslims today. So look at Muslims in India. We look at Muslims in Rohingya, in Assam, in Myanmar, in China, in France, in so many places, because there's no rahab, there's no khilafah, there's no strength for Muslims. We are weak. Individually, we are okay. Every Muslim is, mashallah, they've got money and this and this. But together, as an ummah, weak. Because we lost the message of Islam. The message of Islam is that Islam, al-deen ya'lu, al-Islam ya'lu wa la yu'la alayh. Yes, you pray, you do dhikr, that's alhamdulillah, that's very important, ikhlas, that's the basis. That's very important. But then you have to have some strength, you have to have some kind of, mana. Why would the Prophet ﷺ do that if it wasn't, important? And so in Medina we see that shawkatul Islam. The jihad, they say, عِلَّةُ أو سبب مشروعية القتال وكسر شوكة الكفر. كسر شوكة الكفر. So that people would not. That's what Allah says, تُرْهِبُونَ بِهِ عَدُوَّ اللَّهِ وَآخَرِينَ مِنْ دُونِهِمْ لَا تَعْلَمُهُمُ اللَّهُ يَعْلَمُهُم. So you terrorize and you set fear in the hearts of those people that we don't even know. So if you teach a lesson to one enemy, then the others will think twice to attack. And so the Prophet ﷺ, before the Badr, attacked a few groups of people because they were plotting to attack Medina Munawwara. And alhamdulillah, what happened was they abandoned the idea. They knew that they are awake, we're not asleep. But today, we're asleep. The enemy is very, they know, they plan for hundreds of years. But Muslims, you just, go by the day. And so this is very important that we keep in mind that jihad is always there to establish the justice, but then to give Islam the shawqah. It's there. I mean, if you look at the Quran, people are afraid to talk about jihad from the minbar or the masjid. That's wrong. Jihad has its own conditions. But the philosophy of jihad, the falsafa, the philosophy, and the wisdom, we talked about it before, is to check one people by the other. And so in Uhud, when Muslims were defeated, then the kuffar thought that, okay, now we are powerful. And so the Prophet ﷺ, despite the fact that they suffered so many wounds and everything, they said no. Jibreel ﷺ came and said, the angels didn't take their weapons off. Let's go again. And only those people will go who was in Uhud. Those people who were in Uhud, who participated in Uhud, they will go to the next battle. And so that's how this deen has reached us, through those sacrifices. And so Sahaba are getting trained by the Prophet ﷺ, because you can never win a battle with pessimism, with weakness, with not having a right mentality or set of mind, having a right mindset. But on the other side, you cannot win a battle to say, oh, we are bigger in number now. Only no. وَمَن يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. Your tawakkul is on Allah. balance. It's a balance. We say, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. So that's one thing, these few lessons we're learning. But also today, I wanted to, because Alhamdulillah, we've entered the month of Rabiul Awwal, and it's the month which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, made such a blessed month that He created in it one of the most significant events that has ever took place, subhanallah, in the history of mankind was in this Rabiul Awwal, when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born. On the 2nd of Rabiul Awwal, some say on the 12th, some say on the 8th or the 9th, different aqwal, but the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, nobody knows for sure which day. That's why we don't celebrate in terms of celebration, but we celebrate every day. Every day is a celebration of the birth of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and so we need to revive the sunnah. And so I'll mention a few sunnahs, inshallah, that we should try to revive and bring to life. So, for example, planting was a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Planting trees, planting, plants. He loved them. And he did plant 100 trees. In Medina, when he went first, the Prophet ﷺ, he planted 100 trees just on his own in the beginning. And it was a miracle that the palm trees, the trees for the dates fruit, it bears fruit it takes quite a while for them to bear fruit, but it did. Next year, the year after next year, within 3 years, they were bearing fruit, subhanAllah. And 2 of the trees particularly did not bear the fruit. So the Prophet ﷺ asked, he said, who planted these 2, 3 out of the 100? And so they said, Umar radiallahu anhu. They were almost dead trees. And the Prophet ﷺ, he exchanged them with other trees, and subhanAllah, they became thriving and they took, they bore fruit. And so this is one sunnah we need to revive. In this Rabiul Awwal, we need to promise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we need to make intention that these are sunnahs. Helping a person who's in need is a sunnah. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ says that if I help my Muslim brother, is more beloved to me and is more rewarding than sitting in i'tikaf for 10 years in my masjid. And one riwayah says for a whole year. I'tikaf is so important. But if you help your brother, it's like you sitting in i'tikaf for many years. And so this is sunnah. Whether it's financial help, whether it's any other help, helping someone. Because when you're helping someone, you're giving them your time. You're giving them your time, sometimes your money, sometimes whatever they need, you give them. And so Sahaba were trained. وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَى أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ. So Abdurrahman ibn Awf radiyallahu anhu, and Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas radiyallahu anhu, and so many Sahaba, they were made brothers with the Muhajirin, the Ansar from the Muhajirin, and they tried to split everything, their businesses, their houses. Even one of them had 2 wives. They said, I'll divorce one of my wives and you marry them. And he said, no, barakallahu feek, show me the way to the market, and subhanAllah. And so the other sunnah is to knock at the door. Before you enter a door, you knock at the door 3 times. Or you ring a bell nowadays, And so if there's no answer, then you just leave without getting any upset. That's sunnah. Okay, maybe he's busy, maybe, whatever. The other sunnah that we need to adopt, inshallah, and we need to think about, is so many, is the fact that the Prophet ﷺ didn't criticize any food. If he liked a food, he ate. If he didn't like it, he didn't touch it. But he did not criticize the food. SubhanAllah. So let's just promise that we won't do that. The other sunnah is that Prophet ﷺ would fast on Monday, the day he was born, and Thursday. And so let's just start fasting on Monday and Thursday both, or maybe only Mondays. Especially when the days are shorter now, we can do that. It's a sunnah of the Prophet Sunnah, that's how we celebrate the Rabi' al-Awwal. Let's celebrate Rabi' al-Awwal with that. Islah ذات البين, to reconcile between two, rather and sort of, disputing brothers. So if we know that this brother is not talking to him, or they, or the sister listens to some sister not talking, then they should go out and reconcile. It's Sunnah. Because otherwise, Shaitan comes in and says, فَسَادُ ذَاتِ الْبَيْنِ الْحَالِقَةِ. The Prophet ﷺ says that, dispute and kind of, animosity and that kind of differences between ourselves and Muslims is like a shaver, like a razor that shaves off the hair. But this razor shaves off the good deeds. لا يحل لامرئ مسلم أن يقطع أخاه فوق ثلاث كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. A Muslim must not cut off his brother or sister, not to speak to them for more than 3 days. And so this is important that we need to make them reconcile. To help your wife and people in your household in the house chores is Sunnah. كان في مهنة أهله. The Prophet ﷺ used to be serving his family, milking his goat, mending his shoe, cleaning his things. And so this is Sunnah. And so when we have time, we need to help our wives, help our sisters in the kitchen and around the house, hoovering, cleaning, washing, whatever. That's Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So let's just celebrate our, Prophet ﷺ's birthday in that way. Forgiving, pardoning, and sort of, taking care of others in that sense. If a person does something, you just say, okay, I forgive you. Just for the sake of Allah. The Prophet ﷺ says, من ترك المرأة وهو محب أضمن له بيتا في ربض الجنة كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Whoever leaves a dispute, he's on the right path. He's on the right side. But he says, no, he's my brother or sister, I'm not going to go to court or go into an dispute, so I'll just leave it for the sake of Allah. Allah says, I guarantee for that person a mansion, a big house in the highest place in paradise. It's not in London or Paris or New York or any other city, it's in Jannah, a palace, leaving differences away, dispute just because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the sake of Allah. To take care of our poor neighbor, to visit a sick person. These are all sunnahs. Let's just, inshallah, and to facilitate things for people. Yes, you know that to ask to remove any difficulty from the lives of people. If there's something on the path and you're moving and you're going, you remove that. We make things difficult for people. We park in the wrong place, at the wrong place, parking in the double line, yellow line, or in front of someone's driveway, or places where it's not appropriate. And so it makes difficulty for people. The Prophet ﷺ will never do that. So inshallah, I will conclude with this dua, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may give us tawfiq, understanding, ability, and tawfiq is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to follow this, inshallah, the footsteps of this great person ever in the history of human being, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, so that we are, inshallah, successful and prosperous in dunya as well as in akhirah. Wassalamu alaykum wa sallallahu ta'ala ala sayyidina wa habibina wa shafi'ina wa Maulana Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu